Bill Gates is caught funding an organization that believes math is racist, all as conservative classical education is surging across the nation. In this video, we're going to take a look at the latest woke claim that math is white supremacist, how such claims are fundamental threats to the functioning of our democracy, and how a renaissance of conservative classical education is indeed flourishing across the nation, making these woke educational activists totally and completely irrelevant. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Wonderful to be with you as always. We got some alt tech links down below for you. If you're a Rumble fan, make sure to click on that link below to subscribe to our new Rumble channel and help us to get to 100,000 subscribers there. We're almost there. And for you Parler fans, make sure to click on the link below and subscribe to my Parler channel. And let's together support the wonderful return of this wonderful alt tech site. Before we dive into things here, let's give a huge shout out to our sponsor, and that's Tougher Joints. Yeah, for all of us who are starting to feel our age here, you know, we may assume that joint pain is something to be accepted as we get older, but it doesn't have to be. And that's why I highly recommend Tougher Joints. Tougher Joints has the science-backed ingredients your body needs to solve joint pain by restoring, protecting, and lubricating your joints. What's not to love? So make sure to click on the link below. And as a special incentive, you're actually going to get Tougher Joints at 51% off. So don't wait. It is a limited time offer. Click on that link below. Or you can also visit their website at tougherjoints.com. That's tougherjoints.com. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Look, it's being widely reported that the Bill Gates Foundation is funding a far-left activist group who are pushing the notion that math is actually racist. This is not a Babylon Bee article. This is reality. An organization called equitableMath.org, which is made up of approximately 25 education organizations, is pushing to purge math curricula across the country that they claim is inherently racist. The only donor mentioned on their homepage, Bill and Melinda Gates. As of today, we now know, according to this website, that Bill Gates, who, mind you, made his fortune with computational mathematics, he is now pushing the notion that math is racist. The organization advocating what they call equitable math instruction is itself made up of groups that Gates has funded, such as the California-based Education Trust, which received $86 million from the Gates Foundation, including $3.6 million just this past June. Teach Plus, another radical leftist education organization, they received $27 million from Gates, and they're pushing this anti-racist math curriculum as well. So Bill Gates appears to be all into this notion that math is somehow racist. Now, if you're interested in how precisely mathematics can be racist, this is a summary from mynorthwest.com. The lessons in dismantling racism in mathematics instruction warn educators a, quote, white supremacy culture shows up in the classroom when teachers treat mistakes as problems by equating them with wrongness, because it reinforces the ideas of perfectionism, that students shouldn't make mistakes, and paternalism. Teachers or other experts can and should correct mistakes. As this commentator points at, at no point does this radical leftist curriculum explain why this is white supremacist culture in the first place. It just says it, but the summary goes on. A quick way to dismantle the white supremacist culture, according to the text, is to eliminate order in the classroom. The text argues requiring students to raise their hand before speaking can reinforce paternalism and power hoarding, in addition to breaking the process of thinking, learning, and communicating. Instead, it recommends you teach math via storytelling, circles, incorporating dance, music, song, call and response, and other cultural ways of communicating. And it goes on from there, but I think you get the gist. Now, reading about this reminded me of the whole incident that happened recently at Pomona College in California. You might recall this. A bunch of students there at the college wrote a letter to the college president where they argued that objective truth is actually nothing more than a social construct devised by white supremacists for the express purpose of silencing oppressed people groups. What happened is that the president of the college wrote a letter where he reiterated the mission of the college, which is the discovery of truth and the collaborative development of knowledge and the betterment of society and the like. But The woke students at Pomona College, the woke warriors, they were actually offended by that. And they drafted a letter that excoriated the president's commitment to the discovery of truth. And here's part of what the students wrote. Quote, historically, white supremacy has venerated the idea of objectivity and wielded a dichotomy of subjectivity versus objectivity as a means of silencing oppressed peoples. The idea that there is a single truth, the truth, is a construct of the Euro-West that is deeply rooted in the Enlightenment, which was a movement that also described black and brown people as both subhuman and impervious to pain. This construction is a myth, and white supremacy, imperialism, colonization, capitalism, and the United States of America are all its progeny. The idea that truth is an entity for which we must search in matters that endanger our abilities to exist in open spaces is an attempt to silence oppressed people. Now, of course, when I first read that, I had but one question. Is that true? Is what these students just said true? When they claim that the idea of a single truth is a cultural construct, is that a cultural construct or is that actually true? When these math teachers say that math is racist, is that true or is that a social construct? If it's true, is it guilty of white supremacism? I mean, I think you get the point. The British journalist Malcolm Muggeridge, I think, said it best when commenting on teaching of modern education theories. We have educated ourselves into imbecility. We are dealing with educated imbeciles. And that's because their education is increasingly not education, but indoctrination. Cultural Marxist indoctrination, pure and simple. Cultural Marxist radicals claim that Western culture is a binary of antithetical power distributions between a dominant colonialist power, often labeled white, that disenfranchises politically and socially minority cultures through sexist, racist, and classist exclusions. And everything we do now has to be seen through this lens as to whether or not we are complying with this racism, right? Silence is compliance. Now, I am very excited to share with you the solution to all of this leftist nonsense. But first, I do want to give you a free gift. Make sure to click on the link below and download your own fake news antidote. We've actually updated our compilation of over 30 alternative news sites that I go to for my news each and every single day. They are all conservative. They all celebrate nationalist, populist revolt that's going on all over the world. And boy, do we need these news resources now more than ever. And you can download your own copy of our updated fake news antidote completely free at the link down below in the pinned comment section. And what you're going to have is you're going to have a ready list of your go-to sites every day that you'll be able to enjoy, and it'll inspire you through these trying times. And so yours absolutely free by clicking on that link below. It is my gift to you. All right, so I think, first off, I think we could figure out the danger here, right? But to be very precise, we are a democratic society. And as such, we operate according to what's called the communication model of governance. And basically, the communication model simply states, you and I may be radically, we may have different perspectives on things. We may come from different religious traditions. We may be of different ethnicities, races, genders, and the like. But we can all still come to common agreements about what's wrong with society and how to resolve it. Okay, that's what's known as the communication model of governance. And it's the foundation of any democratic society. What these cultural Marxists are pushing in terms of math being racist and truth being white supremacist, they're pushing what scholars call radical perspectivalism. I know, how's that for a fancy schmancy word, right? Radical perspectivalism. It's basically the idea that truth perspectives are inescapably racial, that our worldviews, our views of truth are incapable of transcending our race or our ethnicity, and therefore people of different races can't come to common agreements as to what is ultimately true. Now that's bad enough, but the way radical perspectivalism plays itself out in our time is in a cultural Marxist sense that if you demur from that perspective, if you disagree with radical perspectivalism, then you're a legitimate object of demonization. Either you think the way we do, either you recognize that math is racist and truth is white supremacist, or you are, you guessed it, a racist. You're a bigot. You are a white supremacist. You are a legitimate object of scorn and derision. It's known as the demonization of your opposition, and it's an inherent component to radical perspectivalism. And what we're seeing coming out of modern American education today, as the nation of France, by the way, recently warned us about, is their notion that their highly leftist, neo-Marxist conception of the world represents reality in its absolute sense. And if you diverge from that, you're a legitimate object of scorn and derision. But the fundamental problem here, of course, is that this radicalized perspectivalism negates the fundamental principle of a democratic society, which is the communication model of governance. And so what we're seeing with the rise of cancel culture and its radicalized perspectivalism that's behind it, it's nothing less than the very real breakdown, not just of thought, but of democratic society itself. Now, the good news is that in the midst of this collective absurdity, we're seeing nothing less than a revolution in education with the rise of conservative classical schooling going on all over the nation. Now, the last thing these schools are going to be teaching students is that math and truth are somehow racist. Instead, these schools are teaching students the great books and critical thinking and logic and rhetoric and cultivating wisdom and virtue. It's actually a very patriotic education that all of our founding fathers were educated classically. They read the great books, they studied Latin and Greek, they learned logic and rhetoric, and this is precisely the educational renaissance that's happening right now as we speak. In 1994, there were just 10 or so classical schools in the nation. Today, there are over 500, and we're already seeing the results of that. Conservative classical schools have consistently scored the highest SAT scores in each of the three categories of reading, math, and writing among all independent, religious, and public schools. And conservative Christian colleges like Patrick Henry, they are consistently beating Ivy League schools in national and international moot court competitions for the last several years. It's pretty awesome stuff, to say the least. So enough already with these absurd public schools and their cultural Marxist indoctrinations. Go to the Association of Classical and Christian Schools website to find a classical school near you and join the educational renaissance happening right before our very eyes. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. You definitely want to check out my latest video. I just uploaded it on how Elon Musk scorches Jeff Bezos and calls out the fake news of the Washington Post. You're not going to want to miss it. I call it the battle of the, what was it? The Battle of the Gargantuans. One of my favorite movies. So anyway, definitely want to check it out. Click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.